hair for our character. In our previous lesson, we were able to create some definition for her nose and for her mouth, and now let's spend some time working on her hair. And since her eyebrows are hair, we'll start with her eyebrows. And so we're just going to grab our line tool, and let's go ahead and choose a dark reddish color. And we're going to make sure we're on our skin tones layer, and we're just going to come through and kind of shape in that layer. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our pressure control for our opacity. I'm just going to draw that shape and then bring it down. She has a little arch in her brow. So something like that. Then let's do the other side. The other side will come over and then down as well. And then what we'd also like to do is let's go ahead and turn on multiply. I'm going to bring my brush size down maybe to like 3 or 4. I'm just going to come through and actually I needed to choose multiply. There we go. I just wanted to come through and just add a little bit of variation to the eyebrows, and it's okay if you barely leave the eyebrow, the little shape that we drew, because I don't want them to look like they're just painted on shapes. I want to make sure that it does still kind of look like hair, even though this is a little stylized. We've exaggerated some features already, like the eyes, and so, you know, she is an elf, so it's okay. Now let's take our smudge tool, and I'm just going to come through and just grab some of this and just kind of drag it out. Maybe even take that edge. I don't want it to be such a hard edge. Then on this side, we can do the same. Awesome. All right, so now let's focus on, zoom out a little bit, make sure it looks okay. We'll focus on our hair. We're going to turn on our pencil sketch. So our pencil sketch has that original hair layer that we created. And we're going to go to skin tone, and we're going to create a new layer above it called hair. Let's zoom out a little bit. We'll grab our brush tool, and we're just going to go back to our line tool, bring up our flow, turn off the pressure controls opacity, and we'll just increase that brush size to maybe, let's try something like 60. And we can still use that dark red color that we chose for our eyebrows. And we're just going to darken in the shape, just kind of going by that sketch. And just kind of come down a little bit for our hairline. And then for our ear, try to avoid the ear if you can, but we are going to come back and really shapen up her ear as well. Something like that. And she does have some little pieces here of dreadlocks and things coming down. We can focus on that. But what we'll do is we're going to, you know, it's like right now we're just kind of modeling, like creating a big shape. We're just blocking in that color, and we don't want her to have just like a big helmet of hair. We want there to look like she's got lots of different flowing pieces, and so she's got really curly hair. So we're just going to kind of allude to those shapes right now. Maybe we'll put a little extra piece in there, and then maybe she's got like a big curl that comes down, and then she also has these little dreadlocks and things that kind of hang off, something like that. And then I'm going to kind of fill this part in, and then what we'll do is we'll turn off our sketch. Actually, I want to bring that brush size down Just want to make sure I catch these little extra pieces that hang down. These would be like little dreads that kind of hung down. Maybe she's got another one that kind of crosses over. Something like that. So we can turn off the sketch, and then we'll grab any of these little holes that you see, and then we're going to zoom in and let's bring our brush size down a little bit more, and we're going to now very carefully start over here, and we're going to draw this part of her hair that is like behind her head, something like that. And then we can use this smaller tool to shape in her hairline. And so we can take this and just bring it over. Might even need to erase here. Might have brought that down a little bit too low. And so we can now add just a little bit of detail, maybe jagged, make that a little bit more jagged. We can even use our smudge tool and just kind of roughen up that hairline a little bit so it's not just a straight line. And then what we'll do is let's grab our brush tool and let's create a brush that we can draw some hair with. So for our brush tip shape, let's go ahead and use one of these ones with bristles. So we have a lot here, and it's easier to see it probably over here on this side. So you can see that it has like a little example of each one of these little brushes, which is very cool. So some of these are a lot bigger than others as far as like how wide they are. So this has a wide, so this, even though this is a flat fan, it's got a high bristle count, but if you come over here, we have a round fan. So a lot of these are real similar. So let's just go ahead and choose this fan brush. And let's come over to some of our settings over here. And so we have actual control over our bristles. But if we bring that count down, you can see that we're able to actually see some of that definition. So if we brought that count down to, let's say, 7 or 8, something like that. And then for the length of our bristles, we can maybe even bring that down a little bit. Something like that. And then we can actually control the thickness as well. So maybe I don't want the bristles to be that thick. And then for our stiffness, so we can actually take control over how stiff those bristles are also. And then for the angle of the brush, it kind of depends on how you're painting. So you can see that we have a lot of control there. I just want to kind of keep it sideways for now. Very cool. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how this is able to create hair, which you can see if I just draw over here what that looks like. It's pretty awesome. And so we're able to now kind of fill in and really shape up some of our hair. I'm just kind of creating like some locks that are flowing around. Maybe we have this piece comes out and maybe there's a curl that comes out. And so when you look at hair, a lot of times you're able to see light through it. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new layer down here. Put it down here. This will be like our background layer. And so we should probably fill it with like a real light blue or something like that. Take a look at that. So now hit Alt and backspace and it'll fill that in. It's a little darker than what I'm looking for. Maybe something over here. That's probably a little bit more realistic of what the sky looks like. Let's go back to our hair. And what we're going to do is we're going to, oops, I want to make sure I grab that right color. Okay, here we go. And so I'm going to just kind of spend a little bit of time here showing you how we're laying down our base for our hair. And so maybe we'll even have a piece that's like comes up and twirls around, something like that. It's got a lot of hair kind of involved and something like that. So we just want to make sure that our shapes for our hair isn't just globs, that it actually looks like hair. And so once we have kind of defined our shapes for our hair, maybe a little bit more over here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to change our color. So now we're going to start using a little bit lighter red. And I'm just going to focus on this one little area to kind of show you how we're going to do this, and then I'll let you kind of experiment. So we're just coming through. So you might experiment with turning on the pressure controlled opacity. So maybe you want to start out with some little bit lighter color, and then turn on that to control the opacity. Just kind of come through and add some awesome shapes for the hair. Like the hair is just kind of going on over itself. I'll show you how we can create some curls over here. So just think about how curls would look. I'll go ahead and bring that brush size down a little bit more to about 7 or so. So then we can actually come through and add the highlight. It would come through off that hair. Something like that. And then we can add just a little bit of highlights in this part of the hair. Very cool. So we can even come through and add like just little highlights here and there. We're going to add some highlights to this part. And then we can even come back and really define parts of the hair too. So we're using a dark now. Might even choose multiply. A little bit too much. Let's actually just choose our foreground color, or our regular color. Control the opacity with that. There we go. That looks great. So we're able to now just take little pieces here and really start to kind of block in the shapes. That looks awesome. And then you might even take and grab, let's just take a look at our mixer brush settings. So if we choose a brush that has bristles like this flat curve with thin bristles, and just take a look at our settings here. So we did create a brush, I believe, for our skin blender, but let's say if we chose one of these other settings here, choose one that we're going to be able to sample our foreground color, and just take and kind of blend some of this hair together so that you can't quite see all the details, but then we can add some little highlights and details later. And then go through, and so go back to your brush, and then once we have some highlights for our red, then choose a really bright red. So maybe even like an orange, like something that's just so crazy red. We're going to go ahead and control our opacity, and we're going to add just little highlights here and there for our brush. Oh, it's set to multiply. Here we go. That might even be a little bit too much. There we go. So add just little highlights that'll really make that hair pop. It'll be awesome. And then make sure you also remember to come back and add some little sprigs kind of coming off, because it's not, her hair's not perfect, and maybe it even has some little pieces that fall down. So spend some time on that, working on her hair, and I'm going to spend some time working on my hair. And when we come back, then we're going to see what we've got, and then we're going to spend some attention